Notes from a Liar and Her Dog by Jennifer Choldenko. Chapter 1. Wolf. I don't even know what I did this time, I say to my best friend, Harrison Emerson. We watch my mother park her car in the school's visitor parking lot. Could be she's here because of Kate. Maybe Kate's in trouble, Harrison suggests. He is sitting on the asphalt in the shade of the backboard, drawing a chicken in his math book. He always draws during recess, until a noon aide makes him play. Oh, right. My little sister's idea of getting in trouble is putting a book bag upside down, I say, mopping the sweat off my forehead with the tail of my shirt. I sock the handball hard against the backboard. Antonio McPherson, please come to the office. The loudspeaker sounds patchy and too loud. A kid I don't know screams, "You cheat!" Another kid smacks the tetherball behind me. Antonio McPherson, please come to the office. The loudspeaker lady is mad now, like if she has to walk all the way out to the playground to find me. My butt will be butter. Want me to come? Harrison asks. Harrison is... working on the chicken's wing feathers. I know he hates stopping in the middle of the feather part, but I can't help it. I need him. Yeah, I say. It's been a while since I've been called to the office. I got bored of it, really. The assistant principal, Mr. Borgdorf, always makes everything sound as if it is life or death. Like if you put one foot outside the crosswalk, you are headed for the penitentiary. He loves rules. He has them written all fancy and hung up on the walls of his office. We take the long way to Mr. Borgdorf's office, stopping for a drink at the water fountain. The water is hot and tastes like pennies. I get a big mouthful and spit it out on Harrison's shoes. Then Harrison gets a big mouthful and spits it out on my shoes. We are wet up to our knees when Caveman comes along. Caveman is our teacher. His real name is Mr. Lewis, but everyone calls him Caveman because he's all hairy like one of those monkeys in our history book, the ones that walk stooped, then turn into men. Caveman escorts us to the office. Antonia, is that you? The assistant principal calls out as soon as he hears us in the main office. He knows me by name. And this is not an honor, my mother always says. You go first, I tell Harrison. Harrison nods. Harrison is short. His t-shirt is almost as long as a dress, and his cargo pants are dirty and frayed at the bottom from stepping on them. Harrison Emerson, why am I not surprised to see you? My mom says. My mom is sitting in Mr. Borgdorf's office with her legs neatly crossed. She is wearing a work shirt and blouse with a scarf around her neck, held in place with a pin. She is glaring at Harrison. My mom hates Harrison because he eats with his mouth open, walks his pet chicken on a leash, and because he's always scratching at something. I'm not friends with Harrison because my mom doesn't like him, though. I'm friends with him because I like him. That my mom doesn't like him is something extra, like a bonus. Hey, Harrison, Aunt, how are you two doing today? Asked Just Carol. Just Carol is our art teacher. We call her just Carol because she always says, just call me Carol. Not Miss or Mrs. anything. I wonder what she is doing here. Harrison blushes so red, his freckles disappear. He loves Just Carol. He has her picture thumbtacked over his bed and everything. Mr. Emerson, says the assistant principal, who is bald except for a strip of hair that runs from ear to ear like a collar, I'm glad you accompanied your friend Antonia here, but I'm afraid our business is with her. Would you mind waiting outside, young man? No, Harrison says. Harrison is still staring at Just Carol. She's wearing dozens of bracelets that jangle every time she moves, earrings that look like the mobiles that they put over baby cribs, and a bright gauze dress. She looks as if she is just on her way to Hawaii. Now, Mr. Borgdorf says once the door is closed behind Harrison, Miss Samberson says, Who's that? I ask. Carol. The assistant principal clears his throat as if saying her name plain like this gives him phlegm. Carol here says you've been telling people you're adopted, that your real parents are going to come and take you away to your real life. And frankly, she's worried that something is going on. He glances at Mom. At home. I stare at Just Carol. My face feels hot, as if I have a fever. How could she have blabbed something like this? So, Mr. Borgdorf continues, we thought we'd have a little talk here today and straighten all this out. Just tell me what to say so I can get out of here, I mutter, looking at the ceiling. One of the white panels is missing and there is brown paper underneath. Aren't you supposed to build buildings out of something more substantial than paper? Antonia, my mother's voice shoots out, as if it has been gathering force until now. Don't play your games with me. You're not adopted and you know it. Fine, I'm not adopted. Can I leave now? Look, Aunt. Just Carol leans forward in her chair. I don't want to embarrass you, but I am concerned. It seems as if you're disturbed about something. I wanted to try to understand here. I thought we could all sit down and work it out. But out, I say without looking at her. Antonia, my mom and Mr. Borgdorf call out in unison. Then Mr. Borgdorf takes over. I expect you to conduct yourself in an appropriate manner. Young lady, with courteous and respectful language. Otherwise, I will put you on probation, on the spot. Consider yourself warned. Maybe you'd rather I hadn't brought this to the attention of Mr. Borgdorf, Just Carol says. But I thought there was a problem that needed to be addressed. And I still believe that. Why is it you think you're adopted? Because I am, that's all, I say, looking around for a window. It's twice as hot in this office as it is outside. How can Mr. Borgdorf stand to sit in here all day without a window? But there must be some reason you think this. They are all staring at me. I know I'm not going anywhere unless I say something. I don't look like my sisters, and I certainly don't act like them, because I never would behave as stupid as they do. And I never would behave... And I wasn't named after a queen of England, like your Highness Elizabeth and Catherine the Great. Antonia, you were named after your Uncle Anthony. You know that, my mother says. Mrs. McPherson, your daughter is unhappy. I don't think she feels a part of the family. Kids don't make up stories for no reason, Just Carol says. I didn't make it up, I say. Look, you don't know Antonia. She has a strange way of looking at things. She carries everything to the 9th degree, and lying is a problem we've had over and over again. But we're working on it, aren't we? Antonia, my mother flashes her fake smile. I appreciate your concern, I truly do, but I don't think this is the way to handle this. What about your dad? Just Carol persists. Is he your real father? No, I say, speaking to the floor. I have a whole other family. Only Pistachio's real. He's my real dog. When my parents come, he's going with me. When my real parents come, he's going with me. My mother sighs. I think we're giving her too much attention for this. It sends the wrong signal. Bear with me a minute, Mrs. McPherson. Just Carol says, motioning her hands like my mom should stop. Is this some new kind of teaching method? My mom whispers to Miss Borgdorf. Her foot is swinging back and forth. Miss Samberson, Mr. Borgdorf says her name like it is a complete sentence. Step outside for a minute. I want to have a word with you. He shoots an embarrassed little smile in my mom's direction. Great. The last thing I want is to be cooped up in a hot room with my mother. I scoop my chair away from her. Antonia, I just don't understand you. Do you want to humiliate me? Is that your purpose here? I look up. What would happen if I poked a hole in the paper where the ceiling panel is missing? What would come out? You weren't adopted. I shrug. That's what you always say. Because it's the truth, my mother says, taking a tissue out of her sleeve and dabbing at her face. Her makeup is melting off. I can see a square patch on her forehead where her Kleenex has wiped it clean. You know, I just don't understand you. I never have had a moment's worry with Elizabeth or Kate either. But you're some kind of. See, I whisper as Jess Carroll and the assistant principal come back. You don't think I'm your real daughter either. Mr. Borgdorf's wide lips are pressed together. A sweat bead drops off his nose. Jess Carroll sucks her cheeks in and organizes her jangly bracelets so the front are all going the same way. Now, the assistant principal says, I think this has been a productive discussion for everyone, and I'm sure this is a situation you can work out at home, Mrs. McPherson. And as for you, young lady, do you know the story of the boy who cried wolf? I nod. I think it would be instructive for you to relay that story to all of us here. I run my tongue over my teeth. Some kids pretended he saw a wolf a bunch of times, and everyone came to help him. Then, when he really saw the wolf, they all thought he was kidding, and they didn't come, and the wolf ate him. That's right. And what do you think the boy learned? Mr. Borgdorf asked. He didn't learn anything. He's dead. Mr. Borgdorf's eyes flashed angry. His lips rolled in. Fair enough, but why? What was the mistake he made? I blow my hair off my forehead and consider this question. He was stupid. He shouldn't have expected anyone to help in the first place. He should have handled the wolf by himself. That's what I would have done.